All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dig into a really fascinating business puzzle, and it comes from the Indian tile giant, Kajaria Ceramics.
So let's get right into it. The company's latest report threw up a real head-scratcher. Something that kind of challenges a basic rule of business. You know, the idea that you need to sell more to make more. Well, Kajaria Ceramics has completely flipped that idea on its head.
And look at this. I mean, the numbers really tell the story here. While their revenue, it barely budged, growing just 1%, their core profit shot up by a whopping 58%. Seriously, that's not a typo. In a pretty soft market where they sold basically the same amount of tile, they became vastly more profitable. So what on earth was their secret?
Well, how did they pull this off? The answer is a massive internal shakeup, a strategic transformation they're calling Kajaria 2.0, and it's being led by a new, younger generation of management.
And we're not just talking about some minor tweaks here. This was a ground-up, fundamental reset of their entire operation. The whole idea was to make the company road-ready for the future. They basically re-engineered the business from the inside out to be more efficient and responsive, even if the market itself wasn't exactly booming.
Okay, so let's break this down. The first piece of the puzzle was an aggressive top-to-bottom hunt for savings. And this, right here, is where a huge chunk of that profit jump came from. I mean, they literally turned over every single stone. They went through their entire operation, line by line, looking for any way to save a rupee. And you know what? It started paying off almost immediately. Okay, check this out, because this number really shows you what they were doing. 35 crores. That's about 350 million rupees. And that's the annual savings they found from just one pretty unexpected initiative.
Yep, you heard that right. Those 35 crores in savings came just from redesigning their cardboard boxes. It really shows you the level of detail they went into, right? And of course, that was on top of other big moves, like streamlining their workforce by about 250 people and really flexing their muscles as a big company to get better deals from all their suppliers.
All right, so that's cost-cutting, but what about the other big piece of this? Well, let's move on to the second pillar, a pretty radical change to their sales structure. And this one, well, it created some short-term pain for what they hope is a long-term gain.
So picture this. Before, because Kajaria had all these different product lines, a single store owner might have to deal with 3 different salespeople from the same company. It was messy, inefficient for everybody. So they just collapsed all of that into one unified sales force. Simple, right? One person, one visit, the whole Kajaria portfolio.
And you know what? Their distributors, their most important partners, they absolutely loved it. It just simplified everything. But, as you can probably guess, making a huge internal shift like this, changing a system that's been around for years, it's going to cause a few ripples. And this is the other side of that paradox we talked about at the beginning. While this whole change was happening, some sales momentum was, inevitably lost as teams had to be realigned and processes were changed. But here's the key. The company didn't see flag growth as a failure. They saw it as a totally necessary strategic adjustment to build a stronger foundation.
Okay, so they've got their house in order, costs are way down. Now what? Well, the focus is shifting. It's moving from all these internal fixes to finding new ways to actually grow the business on the outside.
And this is the big question, right? For investors, for the company itself. How do you get that top line, the sales number, moving again after you've been so laser-focused on the bottom line? Well, they believe the groundwork they've laid is going to let them attack the market way more effectively now. So they're not just doing one thing. They're coming at it from a bunch of different angles. For the very first time, they're building a special team just to talk to architects and designers directly. They've also brought in outside experts to literally map out the entire country and find white spaces. Places where they just aren't selling enough. And of course, they're pushing that new unified sales team to cross-sell everything to every single dealer.
All right, so let's pull back and look at the big picture here. What does all of this really mean for Kajaria Ceramics going forward?
When you boil it all down, this whole Kajaria 2.0 thing is a huge, calculated gamble. They've made a very conscious choice to say, you know what? We're okay with taking a short-term hit on sales growth if it means we can become a much leaner, more efficient, and ultimately way more profitable company.
And get this commitment, this idea of sacrifice for the greater good, it went all the way to the top. The company's senior management, including the chairman himself, voluntarily decided to skip any salary increases this year. I mean, that's a powerful signal to send to the whole company, right? It says we are all in this together, and the company's health comes first.
So what's the end game here?
They believe they're now coiled like a spring, just ready to go. After doing all this tough internal work, they're super confident that when the market finally does pick up, they're going to be the ones who benefit the most, capturing that growth way more profitably than they ever could have before.
And that really brings us to the final critical question. In a slow market, is sacrificing today's sales for tomorrow's efficiency the right move? It's a bold strategy, for sure. They've proven they can become massively more profitable without selling more stuff. But only time will tell if this big bet on a leaner future is the one that truly pays off when things turn around.